Well, hello and welcome to The Point, whether you're watching at home in internet land or whether you're live at The Point on Sunday afternoons at 4 o'clock. My name's David Flavel and I'm the Minister here. I'm delighted to welcome you to our talk today. We're in the middle of a 3-week series looking at how to grow as a Christian. Last week we looked at service, next week we're looking at prayer, Bible study and communion. This week we're looking at mission. How do we grow as Christians by going on mission? In the secular world, they have something called the learning pyramid, which shows how different methods lead to different levels of retention. At the top of the pyramid, although the least effective, is the lecture, where a straight lecture with no notes and nothing, people retain 5%, and then at the bottom, teaching, obviously, you get 90%. Now, actually, this turns out to be a bit of an urban myth, and the numbers involved are completely arbitrary, because it's very difficult to say accurately whether that's true or not. But the order, I think, is entirely plausible. That from the passive to the active, and we're sort of at the 50% level at the point with a lot of group discussion, and indeed practice by doing for those who are involved in getting everything ready and sorting and leading. But teaching others leads to 90%, because when you teach something, you do get a grasp of what you're trying to get across. Because you have to put what you know about something, you have to put it into words which you think can explain that concept to others. And in translating what you know into a way of talking about it, that is when you really embed your learning. Those of you who listened to last week's talk won't be surprised when I tell you that Jesus knew this all those years ago, well before modern management techniques came in. And he used these techniques, he used this idea to help his disciples learn. Let's have a look at what it says in Mark 6:6-12. Then Jesus went around teaching from village to village. So that's the demonstration idea. The disciples could see what he was doing, and they could see how he was doing it. Then, calling the 12 to him, he began to send them out 2 by 2 and gave them authority over impure spirits. So he called his 12 disciples to him, and he sent them out in pairs, so they could work together, and he gave them authority over impure spirits. Mark's Gospel has a lot about the impure spirits and the idea that illness and disease are sometimes caused by demonic activity, and he gave them authority. He said, in effect, I've been doing this, because in previous chapters he's been casting out demons, and now I'm going to give you authority to do this. So he's demonstrated what he's talked about, and now he's sending them out to do it. And these were his instructions. Take nothing for the journey except a staff, that's the stick to walk with, no bread, no bag, no money in your belts, wear sandals but not an extra shirt. Whenever you enter a house, stay there until you leave that town. So basically, they were to go from place to place and preach the word, and they were to be welcomed by the people they met or not, because it says, and if any place will not welcome you or listen to you, leave that place and shake the dust off your feet as a testimony against them. So don't expect to be welcomed everywhere. Don't expect your message to go down well everywhere. The important thing is to share the message. And they went out and preached that people should repent. And the word repent means turn around. Turn around from your old ways and turn to the new ways of God. So they're helping people who are not yet Christians to become Christians by saying what you're doing at the moment needs to change. You need to follow God's way. Do you want to do this? When people said yes, they would stay and carry on teaching. When people said no, then they would move on. So if you were one of Jesus' disciples, I wonder what you'd think. To start with, you're going round from town to town. Jesus is healing people, drawing large crowds. He's meeting Pharisees who are asking really tricky questions, and he's making them look absolutely stupid. You are on the winning side, and everything's going well. You're with the right man, and he's leading, and you're learning a lot. This is absolutely fascinating stuff, and he's doing amazing things. And then he says, right, well, we've been doing this for quite a while. Now it's your turn. I want you to go out and I want you to do the same. How would you feel? What would you think? Especially when Jesus says, and I'm not going to send anything with you. I'm not going to come with you. I'm not going to send you with a whole pack on how to do things. I'm just going to send you out with a minimum of equipment. And all you've got to do is meet some people, get them to take you in, and then do the same thing I've been doing. How about it, chaps? I wonder how you would feel at that. Which brings me to my questions. Number one, how do you think they felt? When those disciples were told to go out, how do you think they were feeling? Were they excited? Were they daunted? Were they afraid? Were they unsure? Were they glad they were going out in pairs? Whether you're a Christian or not, try and put yourself in their shoes and think about how they would feel. And similarly, whether you're a Christian or not, what do you think they learnt? While they were out and about actually doing that, what things were there to learn? And number three, whether you're a Christian or not, what's it say about Jesus? And by that, I don't mean what does the passage say in the words that are there and doing a comprehension. More, what kind of person is Jesus that he says to them, okay, you go out and do this? What's it say about Jesus and the way that Jesus works then, and perhaps the way Jesus works today? Whether you're at home, in which case put the video on pause, or whether you're at the point at Exham Priory School, in which case find yourself a table and have a chat. Give yourself some time to think about this and share your opinion. Well, that's it for this week. In a moment, I'm going to ask the person in charge to say a prayer. But for now, here are my takeaways, my thoughts for this week. So what must we do? Well, number one, be prepared to learn by doing. When we attempt to share our faith with others, then we learn about it and we grow as Christians. If we're not yet Christian, we find ourselves explaining what Christianity is to others, or trying to do that, and that helps us clarify our own ideas. Sometimes, when we actually have to say something out loud, it gives us the opportunity to put together what we really think. It might surprise us. We might think something that we didn't know. Number two, the invitation is the important part. And a couple of weeks ago, you may have seen in point one, if you were there, what Tim had to say about the ACORN process. ACORN helps us to remember these 5 points. A, for ask God to prompt you about who you should invite to the point. C, call, write their names or initials or a question mark for now as you think of who it might be. 3, obey, tell someone, then bring it forward to the light, let other people know that. Report, what happened, how did you feel, what went on, and what's the next step? To pray for them, to invite again, to invite somebody else. And can you see how the ACORN process fits so well with what Jesus was doing in Mark's Gospel? And you could do that this week. Is there somebody that you could invite? And number 3, it's not about being ready. Those disciples were with Jesus 24/7 for months and months and months, but I wonder whether they felt ready or whether it came as a bit of a shock to them when Jesus sent them out. Sometimes we feel, maybe in the future I'll have the courage or the strength or the knowledge to be able to do that. And yet maybe it's about being ready now, whatever the circumstances, and say, you know what, I'm going to give it a go. So perhaps this week you could invite somebody, even if you don't feel confident. Perhaps you could say to somebody about your faith, even though you're not sure. If you are a Christian, then maybe you'd like to try that. If you're not yet a Christian, then maybe you could ask somebody, what do you think about this? And listen to what they have to say.